Hi, everyone. So welcome to our podcast today, a special interview with our beloved teacher, Amy Marcs at the Meisner Taipei studio, at the Taipei Meisner studio. Hi, Amy.
Hi, good to see you.
So you're in Los Angeles?
I am. So it's night for me and morning for you.
That's right. It's good to connect this way.
Yeah.
So you're coming back this year to the studio to teach for, it's going to be your third year in Taiwan.
I know, it's crazy. It's insane that it'll be 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So must have been quite a, experience for you. Do you want to share that with us a little bit first?
Sure. I mean, it was the first year was incredibly different from the second year, and I have no idea what the third year is going to be like because I just said yes. I mean, I had a lot of interviews with Martin, a lot of interviews. But when he said, yes, we want you, I was like, let's do it. And here I am, I'm going to a foreign country. I do not speak the language. I don't know anyone. My friends, when they took me to the airport and I was walking away with all my suitcases, they were like, oh, good Lord, what did we do? But it was amazing. I felt like everything was fresh and everything was new. It was actually like a perfect acting exercise where everything's always a new moment. I felt like a little kid because you get, in life, you get used to things. Like you walk a certain way all the time, the blocks you walk on. Everything was new. And Taiwan is very, very different from America. So, and I was greeted, Daphne at the time was there, and she was incredible with me. And I fell in love with the culture. I fell in love with the people and the students, and that's why I keep coming back. It feels like a second home to me.
Wow, what an adventure, huh?
What an adventure.
Yeah, how brave of you just to jump into that whole experience.
I know, that's what a lot of people said to me, but I was like, I thought it was an adventure. I didn't think of it as being brave, but yeah.
Takes a lot of courage. It makes me smile to hear that Martin gave you a lot of interviews.
Oh my God. Like in the beginning, I was like, okay, maybe it's okay. And after so many interviews, I was like, I really hope I get this job. I really hope I get it. And I did. Yeah, no, many interviews. He's very, very precise.
Yeah. If you know Martin, he is. Yeah. But all that is to make sure that the students are in good hands.
1,000%. 1,000%. And it's also a very different culture. So at the time, I had just moved to Los Angeles from New York. So that in itself, even New York to LA is very different, right? So not only just the teachings, but the humanity of teaching, the connection with people. Because everybody can teach the same principles, but they come out incredibly differently depending upon the way you teach and your energy. You understand energy and your essence.
That's so well said. I think it's time to bring up a little introduction of you, which I should have done in the beginning. So Amy is a very talented, versatile performer artist. She's an actor, podcaster, producer. She co-founded a production company called
Iron Skirt Productions.
That's right. And she's also a writer, and you wrote and performed your own show, Nice Tits.
Which was translated into Mandarin. And as Perfect Mimi. Yeah.
Yes, 完美 Mimi, and was produced by our Meisner students last year, I think. Directed by Nelson, co-produced with Daphne Du. Yeah, that was amazing. That was an amazing happening for our studio in Taipei.
That was the first year I was there, not the second.
So that was 2 years ago. Right. And last year they had a tour with one of the local hospitals.
They did.
And that was amazing.
And I hope, I hope that it can continue. I hope that, when I come back, there's ways to, because it's an important message, and I love seeing women from a completely different culture playing me.
Right. So how does it make you feel seeing your own show in Mandarin?
Well, it's really funny because in the beginning, I would sit in rehearsals and I'd be like, I don't understand a word they're saying. And
it's your own show, but
and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Yes, you do. You wrote it. But You know what they're saying. So it was a wild experience, but I was talking to someone about this yesterday. It's the universality of it. So I love that my story as a Jewish woman from New York who got cancer, that translated, and people in Taipei completely understood my story, because it's again, we go to the universality of things, the humanness, the connection. So that was pretty incredible. And the 5 actresses were amazing, and watching them play me was just such a joy. And Nelson was incredible. I love Nelson. I have an incredible connection to Nelson, and he deeply, deeply, deeply understood my play. And he would always ask questions. He's a very, very good director, and I'm honored that he said yes when we asked him.
It's amazing. Yeah. And we received a lot of very emotional, authentic, even vulnerable responses from I was there at one of the shows where there was this Q&A session with the audience back then. And yeah, I remember one audience sharing, well, some very personal,
Very
and yeah, and we all got very emotional. It was like even the show was over, and we still got to have a very deep and bonding experience.
Yes, and that's one of my favorite parts. I love doing the talk back after the show, because it's really like the show is really no longer about me. It's bigger than me, and it's so much about, yes, it's about cancer, but it's not really. It's really about the strength that we all have to persevere. It's about hope. It's about resilience. And so many of the things that people talked about didn't have anything to do with breast cancer. And that's my favorite part.
Yeah, these difficult subjects, the pains and
yes,
difficult transformations that we could all go through in our lives, and these are difficult subjects, actually.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are even taboo, I think.
That's right, because my show, for people who are listening and don't know about it, I chose to have a double mastectomy. So my show is about making the choice, it was my choice, to lose my breast to cancer. And as a woman, it's a very, very, very big deal, because it's a huge part of my femininity. And so it's really personal.
Wow. I wonder, well, I feel, I guess we all have different reasons why we feel so much resonance with the show, with your show. I personally feel, from the creative point of view, that you have successfully told your own personal, authentic, and it's a very private story. There are a lot of private feelings and difficult, uncomfortable, even awkward or embarrassment in there, but you have been able to share that, put that on stage through a form of art, and share that with so many people and touching people. I mean, this is a path I would personally want to go down through someday. And I think a lot of the listeners potentially would want to know how you went through that process. What are some of the tips, or what could you share with us?
Well, it's so interesting, because we're all different, right? So people, because I'm very gregarious, people really don't realize that I'm really private. Of course, I'm going to tell my whole life on a podcast, but in this sort of thing, and on my podcast, and through creating art, I'm able to share my truth and my story. But many people didn't even know I had cancer until they saw my play in New York. Like, a lot of people were like, "You had cancer? I didn't know you went through that." Because I just didn't want to talk about it. So for me, the beauty of art for me is it's the place that I feel I can share my truth and truly be seen and really share myself. That's why I love the performing arts.
That's beautiful. Are you saying that when you put up, when you write your own show, you're actually owning the narrative so that you can be perceived the way that you want to be seen? Unlike in a lot of the times in daily communication, people can be distracted, or they could have their own, we could be very easily misunderstood in these casual ways of communication.
I don't know if it's about how I want people to see me, but I think it's about, I feel free to share my truth. I'm not sure why. Like, I'm that way as a teacher as well. I'm very, very, very open as a teacher. But in life, I'm not that, like, there are people, and they do it with me all the time, not in Taiwan as much because I don't speak Mandarin, but I'm the kind of person that people can meet me, and within 5 minutes, they will tell me their life story. It is the most bizarre, it happens to me all the time, right? So they just feel really comfortable and they share with me. I'm saying on the other end, I don't do that. Except when I have like a platform but I don't walk around if I met someone like revealing myself that way. Maybe I'm shy. Maybe
tell you their secrets probably because they feel safe with you and they can trust you. Yeah.
That's right.
That's an amazing quality. Yeah. How do you do that?
I don't know. Sometimes it's really freeing when I'm in another country and I can't speak the language. It's like, shoot, I get a little break.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your podcast. It's called Sex
Right.
After.
Yes. So my podcast is called Sex After with Amy Marcs. And I originally started my podcast because when I first had my surgery, I was in a relationship. And I was in a relationship with a man that I thought I was going to spend my life with. But that didn't happen. That's fine. Whatever. It wasn't meant to happen. But I found myself single, right? And it's the kind of thing of how am I going to explain or tell someone, when do I tell someone that I have implants? When do I tell someone that, that I lost my original breast to cancer? When do I share that? And again, like I talked about, like it really affected me. Am I still beautiful as a woman with my scars? So I wanted to have a platform to talk about that so other people could share their story. But then as I was exploring, I was like, everybody has their own story to tell. Everybody has their things. So the podcast is really about life after seismic change, life and intimacy after seismic change. And I've had all different kinds of people on. October, because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I usually dedicate it to cancer, right? With breast cancer and but then I had a porn star on, which was fascinating. I had an amputee. I know, people love that one. I had an amputee on. I had sex after infertility, sex after grief, sex after divorce, so many different topics. And I've done 13 episodes. I'm up to about 14,000 downloads. Which I'm like is okay, and people are like, it's really good, but I'm growing and gearing up for season 2. And it's on, in case, I would love people to listen in. It's on, oh my God, iTunes and iHeart and Apple and Spotify. So you can find it everywhere, and I can give you a link if people want it.
Sure, we'll post a link right below here. So, wow, what a unique approach, and what a unique subject for a podcast.
Yeah. But can I tell you, I don't mean to cut you off, because it's like people hear sex after and they're like, oh my God, your podcast is about sex. I'm like, not really. It's really about intimacy, and the thing, I know you will understand this, the through line that comes up in like everything is love. It's about love. It's about loving ourselves, accepting ourselves, being able to move on, move forward, and everybody can relate. So I can have a podcast, Sex After Amputation, and someone could go, oh my God, I really responded. The final one was Sex After Addiction. The beauty is we can all relate to all of them in some way.
So I haven't listened to all 13 episodes, but sounds like all these people, they have secrets, and they have a past, a certain, how do you say it? A past that's very difficult to share with everyone, that you don't reveal until a certain point in a relationship that you make sure you can trust this person. And even that, it still could be something that's very difficult to navigate with your partner. And
Yeah, and it's not even about, like, for me, it was about dating, but it's just really about the after. It's really about life after seismic change. And again, it goes to resilience and hope, because I think it's so easy for people to tap into the negativity of things. And then there are people who just tap into the positivity. But I think there's the middle ground that sometimes you have to go through the shit to get to the other side. Sometimes
I love how you put it.
I couldn't think of a poetic way to put it. So that's the way I decided to put it.
That's very true. It's very direct. Yeah. I've been thinking about this phrase, how it takes a lot of fortitude, emotional and spiritual fortitude to actually always act from a place of love and trust, because it's so easy to think of what could happen, what could turn wrong, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of situations in life, they don't really look that easy. And a lot of people might just tell you to give up or walk away from a certain situation. But there are a few of us who choose to, like you say, walk or swim through the shit and reach the other side. Yeah.
Get to the other side, because I think sometimes you have to acknowledge that, right? It can't just, I call it, you can't give yourself a spiritual bypass and be like, oh, everything, it's like, I don't think that's healthy.
You're talking about this, overly positive thinking kind of trend. Yeah. Our darkness and difficulties that we need to, and trauma it needs to be, that we need to face.
Look at it, face it. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. I feel a lot of intensity and depth in our exchanges, and that actually energizes me.
I love that. I feel the same way.
Yeah, and it's very similar. It's very similar to the experience we had when when I was in your class in first year. That was 2 years ago, and 1 year ago.
Crazy.
Yeah. I was reading the notes, and there was this one. You were just amazing with us. I mean, wow.
I loved you all. No, seriously, like, I felt so deeply connected to all of you. And it's really miraculous that some people like you speak English, some people don't, but it's such a lesson in everything is energy. Because I loved you. Like I felt such love for my students. It was, and you could,
You were very invested with us, and despite, the crazy hours that you and but I was going through the notes, and I was reading, wow, like we learned all this stuff from you. And there was once that things got really intense, though. Most of the time you were just incredibly loving and patient with us, and
until
no, I was just reading this. There was this time when one of my classmates, she was crying in a scene, and she was facing this guy in our class, and she was crying, and then his spontaneous responses was improv. He was like, "Why do you just always so whiny and crying all the time?" And she came up. She's Gemini. She just came up with just this amazing comeback to him, and she said, "You're that kid who doesn't dare to cry." And I was like, amazing. And then I think something happened in that session, because so this guy was a little resistant about revealing, because we all get to this place in well, it depends. We all have our timing, but there always this time in a practice session when you realize, oh, you're now reaching your limit, and this is time for your breakthrough. Sometimes you want to back off, but eventually you're going to make a breakthrough in terms of your emotional authenticity, where you can really, tear down maybe a layer of your defense and go a little bit deeper into, and you're like, pointing out how he was putting up a wall outside of emotions. And that was like, yeah, and I think he was like a little hesitant to take that piece in. I think most people would react that way the first time, would respond with resistance.
Of course.
So,
And
but this is a very crucial moment of teaching, right? And I'm sure that's not the first time. I'm sure that
no, God,
had a
no.
lot of situations like that. But I was reading my notes. I was like, wow, I was living that moment. So tell us how, as a teacher, how do you see this and the evolution of an actor's
To give
career?
you an analogy, right? I liken it to a gardener planting seeds, right? So you plant all these seeds in the garden, and you can plant all the same exact seeds at the same time. And some things will grow at a different rate than others. But we have to be kind and loving and gentle, right? So we still have to make sure that it has sunlight. We have to make sure that you're feeding these seeds. And some will grow at different times than other. But we can't be like, people laugh when I use this analogy. You fucking seed, how are you not growing? Look at the other seeds, they're beautiful, they're growing, why aren't you? Because everybody in their own time. I will never ever push anyone to make a breakthrough. They're going to make a breakthrough when it's their time, when they're ready. But I think what I do stress with everyone is the willingness. I can't tell people the time frame of when things are going to happen, but while when you teach, you know when people are willing and when they're not. And willingness is so important.
Tell us
So
more about this willingness, the willingness to
show up, the willingness to not know what you're doing, the willingness to just be present with yourself without judgment and without expectation.
yeah, it's very hard. It's
Oh my God. I'm not saying it's easy. And I think that it's really good that I still work as an actor, because everything I say to every student, I'm saying to myself. Like, I understand it. It's not like I'm a teacher sitting on a throne not doing this. Like, I do this. I'm in the trenches. I do it all the time on the other side as an actor. It's not easy. It's deeply, deeply courageous. You have to be very brave to be an artist, very courageous. But to me, it's an incredibly worthwhile pursuit. And of course, we're going to come up with resistance, depending on how we're brought up. That has a huge part, right? Like, again, I'm not sure how it is in Taiwan, but in America, like when I teach emotional preparation, a lot of times females can get to crying, not that acting is crying, but they can get to that part quicker than guys, because a lot of times guys are taught, man up, don't cry, right? So if I ask someone to immediately get to their emotional self, it might not be that easy, because they have a history. They have a history and an upbringing that they have to work through. And that's why for me, when I teach, it can't be cookie cutter. Every single person I teach, I have to teach differently. I have to teach to each individual student. What you need is different than what someone else needs.
wow. And yet you keep that in your heart, because we don't feel that. I mean, you, Mart, and every teacher we have at the studio, I'm sure you have your own perception of the learning curve of each of the
Yes.
students that come through the studio. I don't dare ask you about how you perceive me, but I'm like dying of curiosity, of course, in the meantime, because wow. Yeah, what a special profession, and yet meanwhile you're a practitioner and you practice what you teach, and
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
deeply inspiring to hear that it takes so much courage, that it's not easy, and it probably takes a lifetime to perfect this craft.
A lifetime. And it's constantly like, for me, I feel like, and that's the beauty of it, we never stop. Like, me as a performer, I'm not, I teach. It's not like, well, I've got the secret. There's no secret, right? Every time it's like, I got to go in there, I got to go in the trenches and do the work.
Right. It's not about a secret or some special talent, because people who are outside the industry often perceive actors, especially famous movie stars, as some very special people who are favored by God, or in whatever ways that are
Right.
overly yeah.
I
There's
do
a lot
think
of glamour going on. Mm,
some people are born with more talent than others. But it's
mhm.
the same thing, right? Like if you've been watching the Olympics, right? I watch the gymnast. I wish I could be a gymnast. I'm not born with that talent. So I do believe that we are born with the talent. However, you have to work that talent, right? Those gymnasts, do you know how hard they work? And if you remember, I'm always using athletes as an analogy in class because of the discipline. Like you need tremendous, tremendous discipline to be an actor. I think some people think, oh, well, they'll go, well, I'm pretty and, I'm funny, so I can act. And I want to go, I used to get so upset when people did that. Now I go, great, good luck, have fun. I mean, it's
Tell us a little
discipline.
bit more about this discipline. What kind of discipline we're talking about?
I think all kinds of discipline, actually. I think to me, it's everything. I mean, to be a good actor, you have to have full use of it's mind, body, spirit, your voice, your body. It takes a lot of discipline to do the work. A lot of people just want the glory of it, right? Like for me, I would have left this business years ago if I didn't love the work. Like I think my mentor, Freddie Karaman, would always say the joy of the work. And I love that. Like, and I say the joy of the struggle, because it's not like I don't start working on a part and I'm like, got it. Like some rehearsals, you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to get this. This is so hard. But you have to find the joy in the struggle. You have to find like the joy in, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and embrace that. And I think it's also, this is a huge part of everything, because confidence, believing in ourselves, having faith in ourselves, I think you have to be mentally very healthy to be an actor.
The correct attitude. Yeah. It's not an easy profession, and a lot of people.
And there's a tremendous amount of rejection, like all the time. Right?
Yeah.
It's always like, you're always looking for a job. So now I like to think of my auditions as an opportunity to work. So instead of, when I'm auditioning, instead of getting caught up and going, oh my God, I hope they like me, I hope they hire me, I think of it as, great, I get to act today.
Well, tell us a little bit about, because I really wanted to ask you, like, how has the Meisner technique or your knowledge about this training system has helped you in your creative process? Because you're very multi-talented and you work on so many different types of projects.
Well, I think there's so much about the Meisner technique, which I believe in very, very much with all my heart. I think there's many, many different things that it takes to be a good actor, right? But the listening, I forgot the question. What's the question?
That's okay. Tell us about the listening. Yeah. I remember after I took your class, I ordered this earpods, these new earpods, that they can have words engraved on it. So I choose to have listen deeply.
Oh, I love that.
On that. Yeah, and that was an inspiration from our acting class, because I realized that listening deeply is very important. I mean, me before the acting, how do I put it? Me before taking Meisner training, I was just a non-actor living like I don't know how you put it, a normal person. And
a civilian. I don't know, pedestrian, civilian, yeah.
Exactly. And I used to listen in a certain way. And like I shared it with you once, probably remember in class, like I was a very literal person. Now I listen a lot to the words.
Yes.
And then I look at the notes that I have with you, and it says, it can't be literal. It can't be literal. It can't be literal. And sometimes we listen, even everything is silent. We're still.
Yes, because we listen. I think people are under the misconception that you just listen with your ears. And even when people are doing the repetition, you don't just listen. You have to listen with your entire body. Like we hear with our whole body, with all our senses. And I think in regards to listening, I think in life in general, I think it's a skill a lot of people are missing. I think people have a really hard time. I think people have a really hard time listening and really just taking in the other person and letting it be about them.
So how, as a Meisner teacher, you instill that skill into your students?
Well, again, because I don't teach, it's funny, when I'm in Taiwan, I don't teach the beginning repetition, right?
Right.
Because I come in on month 3 or 4. I teach it very gently and slowly, because it takes people time. Like, because if I say to people, you need to listen, and if people in life don't even understand what listening is, it's hard for them to even, right? It's hard for them to grasp what it means because they haven't had the experience of it. So I think so much of, and I know Martin would say this too, so much of the Meisner training is about having the experience of all of it, right?
Yes.
But I studied I studied with my mentor for 10 years before I became a teacher, and I've been teaching for 16. So I've been doing this for a really, really long time.
Yeah. I remember vividly the moment or the day when you taught me how to be receptive, when I really just had that moment. Oh,
Tell me.
Oh, I was doing this exercise with Cuckoo, and I walk in through the door and she was doing something I absolutely couldn't understand. that was beyond what my mind could understand, because
so
she was having these toys in front of a camera, and that was just something I've never seen, and so I was just in shock, and you told me to feel. Because I think our we all perceive the world in a pattern of actions or a series, a sequence of functions in our body mind system, and I just like, I don't know what to do. I have no idea. I had no idea how it was feeling. I was completely in shock, and I felt like a robot, and well, you just invited me quietly just to feel, don't do anything. It's really difficult not to do anything. And I realized I was frantically trying to, probably running this machine piece here or there, or feel, and trying to express, finding the right word. But actually all I had to do was just completely stop.
And be present. Right? It's much easier said than done. I mean, I can sit here and go, oh, just be present, right? But again, it's a skill, and that's why, if you notice, we do the same exercise over and over and over again, just as a dancer does, just as a gymnast, just as a football player, right? You have to go over those skills again and again and again. You have to drill them in, so eventually you know no other way, and eventually, instead of here, they're in your body. Because everything has to land in the body. And I will say that I'm sure you remember me saying all the time, it's got to be in your body, because it's the body that always tells the truth. We lie all the time with our words, but the body always knows, always knows.
That's a great secret. Yeah.
Always knows.
Yeah. And well, I just love how the training really gets you in a point. Well, it got me to a point experience. I can't do this. I really can't. I know the theory, but I can't do it. And then I was gently guided and invited into the right direction. So eventually I realized, oh, now I can do it.
I still remember your finals, your scene. Well, it wasn't your final scene, but it was your scene with me. It was amazing.
I had a scene with you?
Yeah, you did. Well, it was an exercise. Technically, I'm not allowed to call it a scene. It was, okay, well, I'm forgetting their name, but you did such beautiful work. Benny and Hilda? Was that you? It was, which was?
I think I did Little Birds.
Little Bird.
Little Bird, yeah. Yeah.
Little Bird.
Was the story about my sister wanting to getting rid of her baby. Yeah. I did that with me.
And you just broke free. It's such a beautiful breakthrough doing that scene. And that's such a joy as a teacher to witness that, right? And you can't push it. Like as a teacher, we can't push when it's going to happen. We can guide, but we can't push.
Wow.
And as the actor, you can't push either.
What
I
is
notice
acting?
more and more, like when I see a lot of theater here, and one thing I really notice, and I'm going to talk about even more when I go back, is it's really beautiful to watch an actor work with ease. We never want to see an actor push. It just makes us uncomfortable, and you see them acting, but there's something just beautiful when you see someone working with ease. Doesn't mean they're not having huge emotional things happening or not, but that they're working with ease. And that to me is such a pursuit. That's what I'm always working on in my craft right now, is to work with ease, to trust.
There's a balance that needs to be stricken between ease and being in control, right? You can't just like totally relax and let go, but you have to be aware and in the moment. And like Martin like to put it, like walking a tightrope. So that's like a dangerous and needs high concentration. But meanwhile, yeah, wow, it's art. Yeah.
It's art. That's exactly right. It's art and it's a skill. And I think that's where things get lost. Like people, it's a skill, and it takes training. And working at it. And even when you train, I think it's a constant pursuit. Like as a teacher, I still study. Like for me, I'm never, or I make sure I'm working, right? Because I'm constantly want to grow and find new things and explore new things. It's like going to the gym. If I stop going to the gym, I get flabby, right? It's no different as an actor. It's your gym. You got to keep working at it all the time.
I'm a little curious, like, what would you be working at specifically, say, right now? Do you want to share with us a little bit?
Well, I can tell you things that I want to explore more, like trainings that I want to explore more, are physical trainings. I want to explore to add it into my teaching more, because I really do believe it's all in the body. So I would explore taking more physical trainings. I'm going to be getting together with some friends here. We're going to rent studio space. We're going to work on scenes together. Yeah. And I'm in writers groups and I'm in acting groups. So I'm always working on my craft all the time.
You just got to keep on working. Yeah. On your
All
own.
the time. And also I produce and I create my work. Like I'm a huge believer in creating your own work. I'm a huge believer in, you can't go, well, I can't find a job. There's no work for me. No excuse. Do it yourself.
Right. So tell us a little bit about this workshop that you're doing after coming back to Taiwan this year, because I just saw the notice in our chat group that you're doing a workshop to support all the creativeness and
and I'm doing that while I'm here. I'm actually doing that.
Tell us about it. When is it going to be and what is it going to be about?
Well, I can't tell you the date because I don't remember the date. So we'll have to look that up. I think it starts in September. But it's really about, I'm a huge believer in community. I'm a huge believer in that we can't do it alone. I'm a huge believer in accountability. I'm a huge believer that we need structure. And in this business that can feel so solo and so on your own, you need other people, right? And so it's a workshop for people of all disciplines, right? It could be for a photographer, it could be for an actor, it could be for a writer, because a lot of times we need that structure. We run up against roadblocks. It's going to have a strong spiritual component, because I'm a very big believer that what gets in the way is this, right? It's like the thoughts we tell ourselves, right? So again, like each person I will work with differently, but it's about helping them move forward with a project that they want to work on.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you set such good example for us, the way that you keep working on your craft and creating your own
I
project.
do, and like I said, like I have a production company, my Iron Skirt Productions, and we just did a show 2 weeks ago, and we sold out 3 nights in 5 days and had a waiting list each night of over 15 people. And that's not easy to do in Los Angeles, right? But we did it. So I have a lot to offer in the teaching of this because I do this, right? Again, I'm not someone who's teaching a workshop and like, oh, do this, do this. I really do it. You know,
You come from real experience.
I come from real experience.
And
I
that's
produce
the
a
best.
podcast. So I know how to get it done.
Amazing. Yeah.
And I know what gets in the way. I know what gets in the way of getting it done. And I also know, like, you need a team. So it's great to be with a group of people and someone's like, wow, I really need an editor. I don't know an editor. And you're with 10 other people and they're like, I have someone, because we're not like, sometimes people think actors compete against each other. We really only can compete with ourselves, right? And I really believe in supporting each other, helping each other, watching each other blossom and grow as actors in a community, you know?
And you actually, by bringing nice tits, 完美秘密 to Taiwan, to the Taipei studio, actually, you encouraged the first production, basically.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I feel like, you know, I'm not taking credit for that was the beginning of people producing their own stuff, but I think that it lit a fire in a lot of people. Like, look at like Actitude Studio. That's like it, like Amy produced, you know, with the Wasp. Like people, like everyone's really on fire. It's just an amazing thing to witness.
Right. That's
Right?
also like part of the why it's so great to be part of the studio. We're not just taking very high quality world-class training from you, from Martin, from our teachers, but also we're part of this community that's growing and growing, and there are more projects coming out each year.
Right.
Yeah, and students are really collaborating, and we all speak the Meisner language, so to speak. And
Well, there's something to that. There's something beautiful about all being on the same page. Now, I also believe that it's great to expand beyond that, right? Like a lot of times I'll be in a production with people. I don't know what training they did, and I'm not even going to ask them unless it comes up. But I understand, like for me, it's the principles that are what's most important, right? But I love, like, I just wish I could be there for so many of these projects. Like I see them, I go, wish I could be there, can't be there, you know. But
I'm going to see the Wasps.
What?
I'm gonna see the Wasps. I got the tickets. Yeah. I just feel like
And are you seeing the Spoon River one that they're doing with Alpha?
I'm also going that. Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that because, you know, that's one of the things I come to Taipei to teach is Spoon River. So, and it's one of my favorite things in the Meisner training to teach. So it warms my heart so much that they fell in love with the Spoon Rivers as much as I fell in love with them.
Oh, I still haven't taken that. Yeah.
Oh, right.
I want to be a part of the workshop if you're doing it again.
Oh, they're just beautiful. Yeah, they're really beautiful.
So great. Well, thank you for being here and for talking to us and for sharing these amazing insights and experiences. And we look forward to having you back. Well, it's going to be very soon. I mean,
That's the crazy part. That's the nutty part. Like, it's like, yeah, time is going by so fast. So fast.
Do you have any plans for Taiwan this year?
You know, it's so funny you said that. I have to, because you're big in setting intentions. I have to set intentions because the first year I went, right, my play was done. That was amazing. I developed these beautiful friendships, but you know, I work a lot.
You work a lot.
I teach more hours there than I ever teach in my life. You know, it's a lot of work. So the second year I went back, I was like, I have to have balance in my life because I'm a big believer in you need balance. So I felt like I wanted to explore more of Taiwan. I wanted to go out more. I wanted to experience Taiwan more. And I did. It was amazing. I started developing these incredible friendships with people and going and doing things and being really, really social. And that gave me, I had more energy year 2 than year 1 because I was also filling another part of my well, right? Because there's all, so this year, I have to really think on it. I want to incorporate, I want to explore more of Taiwan than I have. I want to, my friendships are really important, meeting new people, expanding, really becoming part of the culture. I do want to learn the language more than I know. That's important. I need to know more than the 10 words I know. And I'm not sure. I have to think on it. I mean, in an ideal, listen.
Maybe something on the creative side too?
What?
Maybe something on the creative side as well?
Oh my God, Psychic One. I was just going to say that. I would like to perform. I would like to work. I would like to do something for my career, I would love that. And I also would like to interview people for my podcast there. But I got to think on it. Because my intention was so clear for the second year that I really need to make it as clear. Because 3 years is a lot.
I'm so glad you keep coming back and that you're living in. You bring such fresh and special energy to Taiwan, to the studio.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's about expanding and experiencing as much as I can while I'm there and really immersing more and more in the culture.
And maybe some of that immersive experience will become your new inspiration, in your creations. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing, like how I have my production company here with it's stories, and it's, I focus on women's stories because I don't know if it's the same in Taiwan, but in America, women over 40 can get a little lost. And so that's like an important, thing for me. We'll explore women under 40, but it's important for me to explore that. I'd love to eventually maybe bring that story salon to Taipei, to produce that in Taipei.
Tell us a little bit more about this play then.
Yeah, so what it is it's called, my production company is Iron Skirt Productions, and it's Iron Skirt Story Salon. And what happens is it's 7 women. They tell a true and personal tale, and they're usually stories of resilience, of hope, and we work with the dramaturg and we work with the director, and it becomes an incredibly curated, powerful evening. I'll show you when I come. It was videotaped, so I'll share with you the videotape.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Amy, for today. And
I could talk to you forever.
I know.
It's my heart. It's just so. You look wonderful, and you look happy and well, and it's just so good to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amy. You're giving me the energy boost for the month, and I just keep going. I have to do it.
I love them. Well, good. But thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and this was really incredible.